Welcome to the Retro Video Store Podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to the Retro Video Store Podcast. I'm your host, Eric.
Hi, Eric.
And that's my co-host, Neil.
Hi, I'm Neil. And who is with us and almost has a fully functioning shoulder after several months of just sitting around on his ass?
Dave.
Boom.
Welcome, David. You're on a nice little run. You've been on the show for consistently for a while.
Yeah, I think it's time I take another 3 or 4 weeks away from it to regain my sanity.
Yeah, but we're trying a new little thing. We're trying to do some movies that people have seen. So,
Yeah.
That'll be nice for a change.
So today we're doing Top Gun from 1986, which I'm sure a lot of people have seen. Many, many people have seen. It is a classic from the 80s that, I've always thought it was kind of mid. I've never been a huge Top Gun fan. I see why people like it, but we'll get into that before we, as we get into the podcast proper.
I can't believe you called this mid. This is prime 80s jingoism right here, man. This movie
we're
was
going to
the
touch on that too as well. Yes. But before we jump into Top Gun, let's do what we always do, and let's go with David. David, what did you watch this week?
I get us started off. So I went and watched Warfare at the theater.
The A24 movie?
Yeah. And it was insane. It was so good. What was really different about it was it didn't have any soundtrack music. Like, there was no background music at all. And it was shot in real time as far as, I think, when the battle started. The history of the battle was an hour. And so when they say, hey, we're going to get armored vehicles or air support in 10 minutes, it's literally 10 minutes of real time in the movie of them doing their thing. And so I just thought it was super intense, and the sound effects were so crazy that they just need to give them the Oscar now.
Mm-hmm.
And for A24 to kind of step out of something, I think that it definitely kept that A24 feel, and it's only an hour and a half. $50 million budget, I think. And I mean, it's only made 11 back in the box office, but it probably won't shatter a lot of box office. But I think it's going to be one of those A24. It's going to linger. And as far as, I don't watch a ton of war movies, but as far as war movies goes, this one sticks out for the experience of watching it and the sound of it and the action and nonstop of it. It's chaos for an hour, and then it just ends. And there's no dramatic, like, Jerry Bruckheimer moments where the camera pans and spins and music. It's just like when someone's hurt and they're screaming in pain and there's blood everywhere, that's all you hear is somebody screaming in the background and people shooting out a window. And it was different from any war movie I've ever watched. And I recommend it to anybody. It's so good. Just the experience of it. Yeah, the experience. I'm telling you, the sound. If you just want to go experience like sound, and it's the best editing sound I've heard in a while, go watch that movie.
Sounds a lot like,
you're the first person I know have seen it. It sounds
a lot like our prom, just like screaming and shooting and.
But on a serious note, like, you have to go. If you're going to watch it, you have to watch it in the theater to get the full experience. And
I've not even heard about this movie.
Well,
I saw a preview.
Yeah, and it was based. So the director directed, Men, the guy where they keep shitting other people out of their assholes. A really weird movie, and then
Men was trippy. That was good.
Yeah, and then he did Civil War, and I watched that the other night actually, and that one wasn't as bad. It was good. I didn't mind it, but the guy that helps him was actually in that battle. And so he let his buddy direct it, and the director of Men and the other movies was just kind of there to guide him. And the guy made the movie for one of his buddies that doesn't remember the incident because he had a traumatic head injury from the battle. So he can't remember it, and they keep trying to tell him what happened. So he said, I'm going to make a movie for you so you can understand what happened that day. And Yeah, it's just really cool. The whole story behind it and everything. And I think it definitely delivered more than I expected it would.
David, I'm proud of you. You took over the podcast for a good 4 minutes and you explained something really well. So good job, David.
Cool. Can I log off now? And
good job, David.
Neil, what did you watch?
Why is it when you say log off, I feel it's a euphemism? I watched a really bizarre movie called Possum.
I think I know the name, but I don't really know of it.
It's very strange. There's a lot of crawling in it. It's this guy goes back to his dad's house and he has like some weird coping mechanisms. It's definitely a strange movie. And I think I sent you this one. I put it on Tubi. I put it on my watch list. It's called Butt Boy.
You did send me that. Yeah.
Yeah. I watched Butt Boy, and so there's a detective, and he thinks like his sponsor, he's an AA. He thinks his sponsor is responsible for people that come up missing because they're going up his butt. It's both these movies were just so fucked up. Two really, really messed up movies. And then I've got trying to get Popeye the Slayer Man. No, it's legit, man. I saw the trailer for it. I'm like, this is so strange. I need to watch this.
It's so funny that all these older intellectual properties are no longer copyright protected because they're like 100 years old. So now the people are they're in like public domain now. So like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and Popeye the Slayer Man, and there's some other Mickey Mouse movie that came out. They're all using these old intellectual properties for horror movies and weird stuff.
The second Winnie the Pooh movie was way better than the first.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you gotta.
Can't believe you watched both of them.
I did. It just seemed very odd and twisted. I really wanted to watch that. That was kind of in the mood, in the place that I was in. Mm-hmm. Definitely not, sitting around watching Maverick and Goose with their shirts off playing volleyball. This is a whole different scenario.
Who plays volleyball in jeans?
Maverick does. Do you know why? Because he's dangerous.
He's dangerous.
He's dangerous.
Weird.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dave. Ask me since Neil's not.
Eric, what did you watch?
I love that too much. It's so fun.
I actually watched a lot of movies this week.
There's no sports?
No sports. There's a sports, vacuum right now. The NBA playoffs are starting, but they last for like 3 months, so who gives a shit? It takes forever. I watched Friday the 13th Part 1 and Part 2. I watched Manhunter, which is going to be our movie next week for the podcast. The Michael Mann directed original Hannibal Lecter Red Dragon adaptation Manhunter, which is fucking amazing.
Yes, very much so.
Watch out for next week's podcast. Then I watched a movie called Dark Skies, which I just came on. I just started watching it. It's got Kerry Russell and J.K. Simmons. It came out in 2013. It's a Blumhouse production where their family's being invaded by aliens and all sorts of weird shit happens. It's not good.
Oh, really?
It's got some good pieces to it. There's like little bits and pieces that are kind of compelling, some images and stuff that aren't bad. But overall, it's awful. There's something about it. It just didn't stick. Like they tried all this shit, but it just didn't. They couldn't stick the landing. There's pieces of it
on my watch list. It's on my watch list. I'll take it off.
Yeah, it's pieces of it are compelling, but most of it is just meh. Then I watched a 1991 thriller, Deceived, the movie with Goldie Hawn, where her husband's an art dealer and then he's living a double life, and it's just a basic 90s potboiler. It's not great, but it's good in that early 90s way. Just twists and turns. But not, I don't think it would land today because it's too obvious. And cell phones and social media and other kind of stuff like that would not allow your husband to live a double life, so easily. I don't know. Wasn't bad. It was just very 90s, really early 90s. I missed it. It wasn't named for me when it first came out. Neil, have you seen it?
No, not at all. I have
Yeah.
no clue what you're talking about. This is all brand new to me.
Yeah.
And I think you may have destroyed any urge I've had to ever see it. So thank you for taking away what viewing pleasure I might have had this coming week.
You wouldn't have liked it.
You son of a...
So yeah, I've been watching a lot more movies lately, just because there's no sports on. Yeah, but it's kind of nice. I guess that's good to, if you're a movie fan, to watch a lot of movies. But but Manhunter, that shit still holds up, and we'll talk about that next week.
It's just like the best episode of Miami Vice ever.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's got that Michael Mann 80s feel, 80s music, but like so far ahead of itself so far ahead of the game when it comes to crime procedurals. All that shit that we're used to now started from that movie, because everything is about, everybody's a brilliant forensic investigator, but that shit was new back in when that came out. So yeah, we'll talk about that next week.
I love that Dave is still using the mug that they gave him in the hospital during his surgery. Yeah. That's the best part of this podcast for me so far. Hold that thing up.
Those are good mugs.
Yeah.
Got that thing full of ice and water. Good times.
Mm-hmm.
It's as wild as I get nowadays.
So let's go way back to 1986 and talk about Top Gun, The Danger Zone. You want to hit us with the Internet Movie Database tagline, Neil?
The Top Gun Naval Fighter Weapons School is where the best of the best refine their elite flying skills. When hotshot fighter pilot Maverick is sent to the school, his reckless attitude and cocky demeanor put him at odds with the other pilots, especially the cool and collected Iceman. So
we can start with the remember that movie Sleep With Me that came out in the 90s, and it's got a monologue from Quentin Tarantino about the secret subversive messages of Top Gun.
So I was trying to tell this to Sammy when we had this on, and I was like, Quentin Tarantino has a really funny thing about this, and she looks over and she goes, I don't want to hear it. I'm like, no, it's really funny. She goes, this is from the Foot Guy, right? From the Foot Guy. I don't want to hear anything from the Foot Guy.
Well, actually watched it on YouTube because somebody had spliced together his story and the Top Gun scenes that he's talking about in together.
Oh, really?
It's so funny. Yeah, it's really funny. So if you haven't ever heard Quentin Tarantino's monologue about the secret undercurrent of Top Gun, just Google Top Gun Tarantino or Top Gun Sleep With Me, and you will get the full workup on that one. It's pretty funny. And maybe a little true. There's a lot of scenes with people standing around in towels. Everybody's fucking sweaty as hell in this movie.
Yeah.
Sweaty. What is sweaty as hell? What is that?
Sweaty as hell?
It's hell. But all I know is that on March 3rd, 1969, the United States Navy established an elite school for the top 1% of its pilots. Its purpose was to teach the lost art of aerial combat and ensure that the handful of men who graduated were the best fighter pilots in the world. They succeeded. Today, the Navy calls it Fighter Weapons School. The Flyers call it
Top Gun. And hear that Harold Faltermeyer iconic soundtrack. Steve Stevens, the guitarist for Billy Idol, did the guitar on that the theme from Top Gun by Harold Faltermeyer. Yep.
I have a confession to make. I have this soundtrack on vinyl.
Oh, really? Wow, really?
Sounds great with my speakers and a 12-inch subwoofer when I'm blaring it. Oh, it hits, boys.
My wife said that was the only part of this movie that was worth a shit was the soundtrack.
Yeah. I can just picture David twirling alone in his room, his house, to take my breath away. Yeah. So this was directed by Tony Scott. Tony Scott is a premier stylist of a movie maker. You definitely know the Tony Scott look when you think about his movies. He was started out with The Hunger, which is a very stylistic vampire movie with David Bowie, Susan Sarandon, and Catherine Deneuve. Wasn't a big hit.
It wasn't too bad of a movie, though.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I love it.
Yeah,
but it wasn't a big hit. But that came in '83.
It's a looker.
But yeah, it looked good. He got hired from this movie because he did a car commercial for Saab with a bunch of fighter planes in it, and then Jerry Bruckheimer and Don Simpson saw that commercial, and they're like, "Hey, this guy can do it." And then he got hired for Top Gun.
It's the saddest car in the world.
Saab.
Mm-hmm.
Then he did Beverly Hills Cop 2, the movie Revenge with Kevin Costner, very stylistic movie.
He likes to shoot movies at a real specific time of day, and Revenge is all about that.
Yeah, the golden hour is always going on during. Yes, he did The Last Boy Scout, True Romance, which we did an episode on, Crimson Tide, The Fan, Enemy of the State, Spy Game, which I have not seen, Man on Fire, not bad movie, Domino, and then Deja Vu, The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, and Unstoppable, I think is the train movie. And then hadn't really done anything and tragically committed suicide by jumping off a bridge in 2012. Kind of sad. Brother of Ridley Scott.
What time of day did he jump off the bridge, though? That's what I want to know.
Probably golden hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was pretty mean, but yeah. Yeah, it's just did. At approximately 12:30 p.m., Scott jumped off the Vincent Thomas Bridge in San Pedro Port District of Los Angeles. Left a note in his car, parked on the bridge, and then, that's sad. And I guess he had a cancer battle with cancer in that time, according to his brother Ridley. Ridley, of course, is a great director. But yeah, the two super talented guys who made some very memorable movies. Ridley Scott is still making movies. Maybe not. He probably shouldn't. I don't know. Depending on your view, he hasn't made a good movie in a long time. That's just my opinion, though. So.
Well, that's it. I didn't know they were brothers. That's interesting because they both are, like you just said, they both have a very interesting style. And I don't know if I'm using the right word, but color hue to almost all their films have that certain.
Yeah, they went to art school, started in commercials, and then got into feature films.
What kind of loser goes to art school? Oh my God. Oh wait, sorry, me.
So yeah, Tony Scott did a commercial for Saab in 1983 featuring a Saab 900 racing a Saab 337 fighter jet. But yeah, this movie came out in. I didn't include that. Hold on. Oh my God, I can't believe I didn't. Released May 12th, 1986, and then a wide release May 16th of 1986. Produced by Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer, notorious producers. Don Simpson was a character, to say the least, powered by cocaine, and he died from a drug overdose. And he had 2,000 pills in his closet that were alphabetized. And he had a mixture of 21 different drugs in his system during his autopsy.
Addiction and OCD. Really, that's what that sings of right there. Where did you? 86. Well, no, I'm aghast at the number of pills and the possible combinations with what he had. But I'm curious, because you got a birthday coming up, because you and I are not that, we're only like 3 months apart, our birthdays. So you're going to be turning 50 and then I'm going to be going first. I'm going to be going for in June. But where did you first see this movie?
I saw it in the theater. This movie was in the theater forever.
At the Cameo.
Yes.
The Cameo. That was such a badass theater because it was so comfortable.
Yep.
The
such a
rocking
comfortable
chair theater.
Yeah. Now later, like you'd go in and the staff was sketchy as shit later as we got older. It was really hard to see what was going on because those guys, I don't think they could find their ass with both hands as we got older. But Cameo, the rocking chair theater, I remember this because we had, do you remember Morton, the Danish exchange student?
Yes.
Yeah, because I took Morton to go see this. And I said, I'm going to make you wish you were an American. We're going to go watch this movie.
Did you join the Navy afterwards?
No, but he did come out and basically say that we produce some of the best propaganda in the world. And I'm like, you are right, sir.
You are correct, because naval recruiting went up 500% after this movie.
Well, this movie, you watch this movie and you got the idea, like, you know what? I'm watching this. These guys are out there. They're doing all this stuff. And they got all these cool moves. They're launching planes. They're flying out. I could fucking do that, man. I could fucking fly one of these planes. I want to fucking take down communism. And when in actuality, no, you can't. No. Yeah. No. It's a very small niche group of dudes that land on these freaking things and take off on these things. And they don't have a long lifespan of doing it because it's so stressful.
Yeah, I would be like, join the Navy, and I would have been like, I don't know.
Yes, you could sail the 7 seas.
In the Navy. You could put your mind at ease. I would probably be, doing something very menial on the ship. Not that bright, am I? Not really.
Which is funny. I watched a bit back. I don't usually watch documentaries, but I've got a lot of the guys I work with are former military, and I can't think of the name of it, but they were aboard an aircraft carrier. It was basically saying how it works and all, how it functions and all this. Cause you don't think about it, like on the aircraft carrier, everyone's looking at the planes coming in and out and the guys up in the tower and the guys on deck. And they're not thinking that there's some guy on there who's just fucking scrubbing piss soaked floors all day. And, this guy is talking to a psychologist, how he wanted to join the Navy, but he hadn't seen the sun for 4 months because he was below deck and all he does is fucking mop all day.
Yeah. Yeah. That's probably where I would have wound up. So, But let's talk about the other producer, Jerry Bruckheimer, still producing today. One of the most, famous producers of all time. He's 81 now, but he has done so many big movies. Flashdance was the movie that really put him on the map, him and Don Simpson. And then they did Beverly Hills Cop and then Top Gun. And for Paramount, they did Days of Thunder, which is basically Top Car, same plot, just in a car with, NASCAR.
Yeah. Well, he was driving fast because he had way fewer Thetans when he did that. This movie, I'm surprised he could get off the ground because he was full of Thetans. Mimi Rogers had just started taking care of his Thetan issue. But
he was not clear.
He was super full of Thetans. You could tell his face was a little chubbier, full of Thetans.
Yeah. But for Walt Disney Pictures, he's done Crimson Tide, The Rock, Con Air, Armageddon, just Pearl Harbor, Pirates of the Caribbean, all the Transformer movies. He's talk about a mega producer that is Jerry Bruckheimer. Yeah, he's done a ton of stuff. Black Hawk Down, Bad Boys. Yeah, and tons of TV shows like CSI. He was responsible for that. So yeah, lots of stuff. Probably richer than you can imagine. Jerry Bruckheimer.
I don't know. I can imagine a lot.
Excuse me. My chair's all squeaky today. Sorry.
Yeah, it's the chair. Gotcha. It's the chair. Totally.
This movie was $15 million budget, right? 1986, $15 million. $357 million at the worldwide box office in 1986 money. That's huge. It was the biggest movie of 1986 by a long shot and the biggest worldwide. some of the other movies that came out in 1986. 86 was a good year. Crocodile Dundee was number 2. The Karate Kid Part 2 always astounds me that was the number 3 grossing movie in the United States in 1986. Karate Kid Part 2 made $115 million. Yeah, that's crazy to me. And so many of these movies we've done episodes on. Karate Kid Part 2 episode, Back to School episode, Aliens episode, Ferris Bueller's Day Off episode for that one.
I want to go back and talk some more shit about the people that worked at the Cameo.
Mm-hmm.
Just some of the worst humans I've ever run into in my entire life. Nothing, David? You got nothing for us?
I do have a funny story about working at the Cameo.
Okay. We need to get to that.
Yeah, this kid he wanted to start the movie one night, so there's always just a manager and then a projectionist usually. And so he was the manager and projectionist for the same one. And then this kid was the concession guy, and he wanted to start it. I threaded it and he wanted to start it. Right. So I let him, you can go start the movie. Well, I was hanging out, I remember the movie, and someone came out like, hey, is the movie going to start? We're 10 minutes behind. They're like, who the fuck is this kid? So I go in there, and he was collapsed in a corner, and he was holding a rag and like a can of some spray stuff.
Oh, I think you told us this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he went up there, he started,
damn it. So
he started huffing and passed out. Yeah.
And so the next week he asked him, like, hey, don't do that again. He's like, can I start it? Like, yeah. So I go back in there and he's fucking collapsed in the same corner, like, oh, shit. That's good. Yes. Cameo. Good time.
I was going to say, out of all the theaters, we're going to get very granular here in the regional movie theater going experience in New Mexico. What was your favorite theater to work in Farmington, New Mexico?
The Old Allen downtown. And then probably the Cameo.
Yeah. I loved the Old Allen Theater downtown. It was the best. Yeah. That one, it was the coolest theater. You would line up outside, single ticket taker, walk in, concession stand, and they had the cool bathrooms that you had to walk in at the weird tile and the weird sort of pee trough, and there was like underground tunnels underneath it. But in the women's restroom, they had like a viewing area that you could, like, if your kid was crying or something, you could take the kid in there. Why did that concept go away?
Yeah, had a little speaker. Had a little speaker in that area too, where you could still hear the movie. And I've got so many funny stories about working at that theater. And when Halloween H2O came out, no, Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, was one of the last movies that played there. I think it may have been the last movie, or I'd have to look it up, but I'd have to find the movie poster of the last one that was there. But Strange Days, a movie called Strange Days, was the last one that played there.
Oh, interesting.
But Halloween H2O was the one right before that, or not H2O, but The Curse of Mike Myers. And I remember Jamie was in town. And I said, let's go watch this
Jamie,
movie.
Who's my wife.
Yeah. And, but we decided to get some Burger King before. But I didn't tell Jamie, and I think I ended up telling her years later, but I got really high right before. And so I showed up with a bag, and we went up to the balcony, had that balcony, so we didn't have to sit with everybody else. And so we're just up there eating Burger King, and I just kept eating hamburger after hamburger. And I remember Jamie commenting, like, how many burgers are in that bag? And I was like, I don't know, I'm way fucked up right now, and I'm just eating all these little fucking $1 hamburgers. It was great. And then dared Jamie to go in the underneath tunnel when the closing credits were playing the din 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 because you could vibrating through. So I took Jamie down through the door into the underneath tunnel where it was blocked off by the old theater seat, so you couldn't actually go underneath the street, but you could go the distance of the entrance to the theater. And Jamie was not happy to be down there. I'm like, come on, we're just going to turn out the lights. We're just going to hang out in this tunnel.
What a good brother you are.
Yeah.
So Strange Days came out in 1995. So that was the last movie to play at the Allen Theater? Sad.
I think so.
95. How old were you in 95? 30
15,
years ago.
I think. 15, 16. Was my first job.
Yeah.
I was just a concessionist. I was a concessionist. I popped popcorn. Actually, my job was I popped popcorn at one theater and drove to all the other theaters and delivered them. That was my job.
Yeah. What?
Look at me now.
So 86, going back to 86, had tons of amazing movies, tons of movies that we've done episodes on. But 86, that was a good year. Really good year for a movie. Crossroads, remember that movie with Ralph Macchio and the guitar and Steve Vai? Clue came out that year. The Name of the Rose, Texas Chainsaw 2, Blue Velvet, Manhunter, which we're going to do next week, Brazil, Big Trouble in Little China, Labyrinth, Little Shop of Horrors, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Legend, Howard the Duck, Back to the Future was also, well, it came in 85, but it was spilled over in 86. Iron Eagle, speaking of Top Gun, Iron Eagle was one of the biggest Top Gun ripoff movies ever to ever come out. Neil, I remember you were talking about watching Iron Eagle.
Disrespecting Louis Gossett Jr. I am so disappointed in you.
Friday the 13th, Part 6. Jason Lives also came out. Rocky 4, The Fly, Pretty in Pink, Stand By Me. Yeah, what a year. Holy crap. I was 13 years old. I watched Top Gun in the theater. I thought it was pretty good, but not near as good as the other kids at school thought it was. This movie was big. Everybody wanted that leather jacket. You know, leather jackets were a hot commodity back then.
Got to have all the patches and shit all over them.
Yep. Tell your girlfriend, I'm going to join the Navy, man. We talked about the soundtrack a little bit. Soundtrack 9 times platinum with Danger Zone and Take My Breath Away. You've Lost That Lovin' Feeling. And music by Harold Faltermeyer. So
Playing with Them Boys. The volleyball thing. I always thought that was
Why do you like that one, though? Is that the one with the...
Let's not get Quentin started.
Playing with the Boys? Is that the one you play over and over again?
No, I play the theme song, the battle song.
One of the really interesting things about the movie is that this is one of the first releases on home video where it was priced to buy immediately. Before then, they would, if you worked in a video store, they were always priced to rent. So the rental store would pay like $100 per copy of the VHS, and they would make their money back by rentals. And not too many movies were mass released on VHS to buy. This movie came out priced at $26.95, and 1.9 million units were pre-ordered for this movie and wound up selling 2.9 million units. So everybody probably had a copy of Top Gun in their VHS collection. I don't remember us having it, but I remember us having E.T. and Batman. Batman was one of the first movies that came out priced to buy at like $20, and everybody had that one that came out for like Christmas or something. But we didn't really buy that many movies because they were expensive. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was one that we had that was priced to buy. E.T., Batman, but everything else was recorded on VHS. The T120.
You know what?
Sony T120 tapes.
I'm gonna put an end to this. We're a half hour in. I think you need to call the ball. Land this thing on we've got way too much movie to talk about in a half hour, dude. Look at this. You're just going on and on. There is so much to unpack in this movie that you are just letting go.
All right, let's do it then.
And you know why? I think I know why you do it. You're dangerous. That's why.
I'm going to abandon my wingman.
Just get those aviator shades on and just kind of stare in like weird like directions where you wouldn't possibly be making eye contact with the people.
And just be sweaty all the time. Wearing your tighty whities or just being wrapped in a towel. Talking with the boys. Yeah.
I will say he did a really good, Val Kilmer did a really, really good Saturday Night Live where he makes fun of being Iceman and he like has on multiple pairs of sunglasses, just like takes them off. There's like another pair on.
Yeah. Yeah. Val Kilmer was cooler in my opinion than Tom Cruise in this movie.
And they're both chock full of thetans.
Yes.
So many Thetans in them.
Well, let's talk about the cast. This cast is it's a big cast for this movie. You know, you got Tom Cruise really on his really hitting the peak of his becoming a superstar with this movie. Kelly McGillis, she was remember her in Witness? That was pretty much like almost the exact same time where
That's a great movie, though.
yeah, Witness is a very good movie. Val Kilmer, Anthony Edwards coming off of Revenge of the Nerds. And he was Goose. Tom Skerritt is Viper. Michael Ironside is Jester. Michael Ironside just fucking classes up whatever he's in. You know, he's just good.
Dude, this and Starship Troopers are the only things I can recall him ever being in, and I don't care.
He was also in Total Recall.
Total Recall. You know what? Nope.
He got his arms pulled off in the elevator.
The elevator like that, I see it, but he was above the hot deck when this happened.
Everybody had cool names: Cougar, Wolfman, Slider, Merlin.
I was okay with a couple cougars in my day. That's fine with that.
And James Tolkien was the commander of the Enterprise, and of course you know him as the principal in Back to the Future. You're a slacker.
Never has a cigar had so much like cinematic menace as when that man smokes a cigar.
Yeah, a lot of good character actors in this movie. The critical consensus is a hoot. Neil, you want to hit us with the critical consensus? Is
a hoot. All right, Rotten Tomatoes, it's got an approval rating of 58%, and that's based on 76 critics. Good Lord. That gives it an average rating of 6.10 out of 10. Critical consensus states, though it features some of the most memorable and electrifying aerial footage shot with an expert eye for action, Top Gun offers too little for non-adolescent viewers to chew on when its characters aren't in the air. On Metacritic, the film has a weighted average score of 50 out of 100 based on 15 critics indicating mixed or average reviews. Audience surveyed by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of A on an A+ to F scale.
And this is where the audience score is probably correct, because this movie was a fucking huge hit, and the critics were pretty down on it at the time.
Honestly, there are some moments between Anthony Edwards and Tom Cruise where they're just kind of like jibber jabbering back and forth to each other. That is some of the best acting in the whole movie, and probably some of the best acting I've seen him, like Tom Cruise, ever do. Because he's just
I 100% agree. Young Tom Cruise was fucking charismatic. He was good in this.
Those were the Thetans. The Thetans were trying to pull you into this so your negative thoughts will weigh you down.
Yeah, but he was good in this. He was good in his early movies. I thought he was really good in All the Right Moves and Legend and this movie and was The Outsiders and other things. This is before he was Tom Cruise that we know now.
It's like, okay, here's the beginning of the formula. Tom Cruise on a motorcycle, Tom Cruise in a plane. Now every movie, Tom Cruise in a motorcycle, Tom Cruise in a plane, Tom Cruise running. It's
gotta run.
Everyone after that got to run. Him and Ben Stiller, who fucking annoys me in almost everything he's in. Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times, never heard of this guy before, 2.5 out of 4 stars, saying movies... I haven't even read it yet. You can't scoff yet. Movies like Top Gun are hard to review because the good parts are so good and the bad parts are so relentless. The dogfights are absolutely the best since Clint Eastwood's electrifying aerial scenes in Firefox, but look out for the scenes where the people talk to one another. Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune, look out for the scenes where people talk. The reason why people fucking go to movies. Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune gave the film 3 out of 4 stars, praising the action sequences, but criticizing the romantic subplot, writing that it belongs in a teenage sex fantasy film and not in a movie that deserves the genuine romantic value of an officer and a gentleman. American film critic. Why is it important that he's an American film critic? He's just a film critic. Can we just drop the borders and just be critics, Eric? Pauline Kael commented, when McGillis is off screen, the movie is a shiny homoerotic commercial. The pilots strut around the locker room, towels hanging precariously from their waists. It's as if masculinity has been redefined as how a man looks with his clothes half on, as if narcissism is what being a warrior is all about. Some critics have said that the film promotes American jingoism. Filmmaker Oliver Stone told Playboy that the film sold the idea that war is clean, war can be won. Nobody in the movie ever mentions that he just started World War III.
I thought about that at the end of the movie.
Yeah. In 1990, Tom Cruise, while promoting Stone's Born on the 4th of July, said the film should be taken as a fairy tale instead of a real depiction of wars, and added that it would have been irresponsible to make a sequel because the film gave a misleading view of war. Well, motherfucker, you sure made one. Cruise reprised. He reprised the role 36 years later because he realized the obscene amount of money he could make, this time to most positive reviews. Val Kilmer, who was critical of warmongering in the first film, also returned for the sequel, but had a much smaller speaking role. See what I did?
Yeah. Oh, that was mean. That was mean. Ouch. Rest in peace, Val. That's a little too soon. Too soon, Neil.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus.
God, I cracked myself up. I'm so.
Do you want to know how much Top Gun Maverick made?
Oh God, an obscene amount.
$1.496 billion. Yeah. A lot of money. Budget was 177 million, so it was. I mean, I don't know how in percentage of profit to expense.
Well, but, a huge chunk of that was spent on sign language interpreters. Anyway, journalist and former F-14 RIO Ward Carroll considered the movie iconic and culturally relevant, even jokingly referring to it as the greatest movie ever made. But while conceding the need for narrative and cinematographic liberties, he felt that the film had several cringeworthy technical errors that cause it to be as much cartoon as tribute. Carroll identified 79 departures from naval aviation procedure, technical mistakes, and continuity errors in a 2019 article from military.com. The YouTube creator Legal Eagle posted a video called Military Laws Broken, Top Gun with Real Jag, in which the film is reviewed with a veteran judge advocate general lawyer, which discusses that the film takes considerable liberties concerning U.S. military and naval regulations and laws that are violated. For instance, Maverick's buzzing the air control towers would in real life have likely resulted in his flight status being immediately revoked, while other offenses committed would have had the pilot being punished with the death penalty if committed during a time of war.
Not right now, though. I'm sure that would be perfectly fine under current
under the
standards of.
Well, currently, do we have standards?
We don't. So yeah.
I don't think we do, but we're just a couple of buffoons.
Yeah, that's true. All right.
Yeah.
I like that you already went over the info dump at the beginning of the movie with the 1960s.
That right there should have given you your fucking red, white, and blue boner just popping right up in the movie theater right there, just reading that. Like, best fighter pilots in the world, America. Whoa, here we are.
Yeah, the opening titles, that opening music, the synthesizers and guitar, showing planes launching off the deck of a aircraft carrier.
See, look, you got caught up in the jingoism right there.
Aircraft carrier.
And that's the thing. I remember people walking out of that like, oh man, it's so great. I should join up. I could do that. I could be like, no, you fucking can't do that. You can't. Your glasses are 3 inches thick and you limp.
It reminds me of when David was talking about when the Fast and the Furious would get out of the showings at the theater. David, what was that like?
Everybody was popping the hood of their car, looking at it in their minivan or something, and then driving. Driving fast and racing each other. God.
Yeah. I don't know how many guys in high school said they were going to join the Navy or tell their girlfriend they were going to join the Navy, and they didn't really quite pan out when we can't graduate high school.
I remember telling my girl, I'm going to drink a lot of alcohol and learn how to draw really good pictures. I stuck to my guns. That's what I did.
All right.
Yep.
Follow your dreams, Neil.
I followed them. Actually, I didn't really follow them. I kind of found out where they were going, and I just met up with them later.
All right.
It was way easier.
Mm-hmm. So Danger Zone, that song is iconic. As soon as you hear Danger Zone, you think of Top Gun. It's hand in hand. Of course, you got the beginning, Maverick and Goose are out there flying in the missile, with the missile lock on the Russian MiG, but then Cougar freaks out, winds up turning in his wings, and Maverick and Goose slide into their position at Top Gun. And it's always like, the reluctant commander's like, I can't believe I'm going to do this. I'm going to let you guys go to Top Gun. I'm crazy,
I could just picture that as like a 1980s like Saturday Night Live skit back when they were in their prime.
Yeah, so lots of, just so many scenes that stick out. The first meeting up with Iceman at the bar, and then of course trying to pick up on Kelly McGillis's character singing "You've Lost That Loving Feeling," and just how many assholes try to do that afterwards. How many guys are like at the top deck, or
Top deck.
Here's the thing is that what I feel bad for our four listeners, just saying the words top deck brings a smile and a laugh to our faces because we know what the top deck was or still is. I don't know if the top deck
I think it's
exists.
closed. I think it's closed, yeah.
But is there any way to describe to all four of our listeners just the pure redneck back assward shittiness of the top deck?
Yeah, it was the premier bar in Farmington, New Mexico in the 80s and the 90s, and it was notorious for fights and drama, and just Farmington's finest citizens would go and party at the top deck and paint the parking lot with puke afterwards.
That and Clancy's.
Yep, Clancy's. Yep.
Oh yeah,
Clancy's is still open.
Yep, Clancy's is still there. Clancy's Pub. Many a burger was eaten at Clancy's.
True.
Man, if you're not from Farmington, this is not going to be. It's not a good episode. Farmington, New Mexico. Yeehaw! Like we talked about earlier, young Tom Cruise had a lot to offer. You can see why he had that star power, and I generally do not watch movies with him in it. There's just something about him now that I just can't even really get into. I've never seen Minority Report. I've never seen The Edge of Tomorrow. I've never seen a lot of the movies that he's in that I know are probably good movies. None of the Mission Impossible movies I have seen, just because I'm Tom Cruise averse. I don't know if I'm missing out or not, but I hear Edge of Tomorrow is great. I've never watched it.
I watched the first one. I just have a hard time going to his movies and funding his insanity or knowing that any of my money goes to that fucking wackadoo organization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen to some
avoid his movies.
I listened to some podcasts with Leah Remini talking about what it took for her to leave that organization, just all the craziness that's involved. And then it led me down the YouTube rabbit hole of guys that show up and like all the weird shit that they do and websites that they start about you. And it's just, I
don't want to get sued, Neil. So let's not talk about it anymore.
This is the First Amendment.
They will come and get us.
I've actually seen their headquarters.
Did you go to Florida, Clearwater, Florida?
Oh, no, I guess maybe it's not that. I saw the one in LA.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I have an interesting story, and I don't know if this will get us sued or not, but it's coming out anyway. So I did martial arts with a dude who was actually a Buddhist monk, and he would lead like these meditative things afterwards. And he was here in the States, and at a mall in San Jose, California, they had the little things where you grab a hold of it and the meter. The meters go.
Yeah, the e-meter, yeah.
Oh God, it was so hilarious because he asked me in Japanese, he's like, kore wa nan desu ka? He's like, well, what is this? So I'm struggling to find the words, and the person starts talking to him, and he has a really good grasp on English. and they explain what it's doing. And I'm like, oh shit. And so he grabs a hold of it and he just looks at me. He goes, needle all the way to the left. And the needles go all the way to the left. And he kind of giggles. He goes, okay, now needles all the way to the right. And then takes the needles all the way to the right. He goes, middle. And then was just making these things bounce all over the place. It's just something, he's got really amazing control over himself and his own mind and his thoughts and how he reacts to stuff. And just watching that there was just fucking priceless. They wanted to talk to him so bad.
I kind of want to, I think of it like when it seems like you almost grab the thing and you want to see what your midichlorians are.
Yeah. Anyway,
Eric's going to be editing all of this out.
Like you said, we have 4 listeners. I doubt if anybody would hear it. Hopefully. Nobody's going to give us a cease and desist order. So, yeah. The Maverick is such a rebel, he will leave his wingman and alienate the rest of his team. And then, of course, as soon as you see that Goose has a wife and a kid, he's not going to be long for this movie.
Man, that's what pulled his buddy out. That's what pulled Iceman's buddy. Started looking at the picture of the wife and the kid. Done. Yep.
Mm-hmm. But as soon as you see, Meg Ryan and the kid who's, is Goose's son, and then of course you gotta have the volleyball scene, which is talked about who plays volleyball in jeans, Maverick, obviously.
And then he went to a date. He went on a date, and it's like, dude, your hair is soaking wet with sweat, and you're out there. Yeah, just you jumped on the bike and started driving, dude. As soon as he gets there, she's like, oh, this is nice, but could you maybe next time bathe? You can't smell that great.
Yeah, he showered when he got there.
Well, not when he arrived. When he arrived, he fucking smelled.
Yeah, but then he took a shower.
Well, he had to. He smelled.
Yeah, and then he smelled good, and they ended up in the throes of passion.
He did the old Ben Stiller. He couldn't go in with one in the tank. He had to go and take a shower to take care of that.
Well, he left her hanging the first time. He takes a shower, he's flirting with her, then he leaves, and she's all frustrated, and then she sees him the next time, and then they have the little car chase, and then she professes her feelings for him, and the next thing you know, they have the super glossy, sweaty, dark, PG level sex scene.
I know you're disappointed in that. But I have a far more important question. At any point during your guys' professional careers, and I say career very loosely with you, David, but I wanted to include you. Have you had a disagreement with a coworker and you just thought to yourself, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bite the air in front of their nose. Have you guys ever done that?
I do that all the time. I do that.
That's an alpha move that none of us have been able to pull off.
Yeah, the Iceman bite the air kind of move. Yeah.
And then you got to learn how to flip the pen between your fingers. Mm-hmm. You got to learn how to roll that pen around.
So Goose gets cooked in the, when he screws up.
Okay, I do not want to hear anything about the joke I made if you keep fucking saying Goose gets cooked.
But that's just a general pun, not shaming somebody's struggles.
His goose was cooked. And then we judge Neil for one. We judge Neil for one joke. Unfair.
So after Goose goes, it's everybody's cheering up Maverick for the next 30 minutes of the movie. He's looking sad, and then Charlie, Kelly McGillis's character, pretty much disses him by calling him Pete or whatever, Pete Mitchell instead of Maverick. After he kind of quits Top Gun. That's pretty cold-hearted. Iceman sort of
tough love. She was taking tough love with him. You're not Maverick anymore. You're just little Pete. You're little Petey Mitchell. And you know what that's right. What she should have done was when she called him that, she should have bitten the air right in front of his nose.
Iceman even apologizes a little bit. Everybody liked Goose. Yeah, that's all he says.
everybody liked Goose. And then Val Kilmer, I love the move that they all had where they kind of like make fists like in front of their face or like make fists. Everybody liked him.
They flex that jawbone. That jawbone flexes.
Yeah. You got to have that. Yeah, that's true. Good catch on that one, David.
Let's go, Eric. Garrett, flex your jaw. Let's see you flex your jaw. Let's go. No, go from the side. From the side. Go flex it. David, how about you? Oh, you got too much beard. Let me wait. Oh, I got too much glare. Wait, I want to try and do it. My turn.
Yep.
Nope. What about? Nope. Damn it. Well, that's it. We are not Top Gun material. Besides being old as shit.
That's like Chris Evans's go-to move is to clench his teeth and grit his teeth. He does it tons of time as Captain America when he's mad or contemplating things.
Well, yes, he has to clench his teeth, or he's going to bite the air in front of Thanos' nose and break up the rhythm of the fight.
Yeah. So Viper gives Maverick a pep talk, talking about the true story about what happened to his old man, the legacy that he's trying to live up to. And then he immediately shows up in graduation, and they have a huge dogfight with the Russians starting World War III. But apparently the Russians, say it never happened, but that's a cool part. The aerial photography is the best part of the movie, I think. Looking at those old F-14s moving around, and that part is awesome. And the way Tony Scott shot everything, lots of kind of MTV fast editing and stuff, which was very novel at the time. It was, this is too flashy. It's too much like MTV, but now movies are so... it requires such a short attention span now. It looks kind of quaint and slow compared to the shit that we see now, where everything is a cut. Everything moves around really, really fast now. And people don't have the patience, where people were shitting on this movie for not having any character development and being just super flashy. It seems almost the opposite now compared to some of the shit that we've seen. That's my hot take.
I am going to put something before the end notes just for everybody's viewing pleasure.
All right.
Did we start World War III? ? We don't know.
It's the Quentin Tarantino monologue from...
I found the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's so great.
It's so funny. Yeah, you got to look that up if you have not seen it. It's super, super funny. This movie's good. I mean, it holds up. I didn't really care for it that much when in the 80s. I've only seen it one or two times. I watched it on Saturday, and I enjoyed it. I gave it I'm kind of come around on it a little bit. It's not like one of my favorite movies, but it's an enjoyable 80s movie. And you can see why it's so influential and why it's such a big movie. Jamie rolled her eyes the entire time. She was working on a puzzle while I was watching the movie, and she was just like, I could hear her cries of disgust watching this movie.
Oh, see, I do not feel bad now knowing that your wife is enjoying some of these movies as much as my wife does.
Yeah. Sorry,
well,
David.
If you put the mug down, you could let your girlfriend watch the movie too.
So, David, what did you think? What's your synopsis of Top Gun?
This movie's a goddamn classic. Of course I'm going to watch it. It's just such a staple of my childhood, and Kelly McGillis is hot. The soundtrack is epic, and I own the soundtrack on vinyl, and I have no regrets.
All right. Neil,
you know what I think about this? I think this is a story about a man's struggle with his own homosexuality. It is. And that's what Top Gun is about, man. Sorry, I'm never going to have Quentin.
Go the gay way.
Go the gay way. You go the way. Go the gay way. Never going to have his delivery, which is absolutely at its most Tarantino-esque.
Yes.
This is one of those movies that you watch and you have like very specific memories of it. I remember watching it and like, okay, I'd never really seen anything like that. I thought the airplanes were cool, the wings swinging in and out, and they had like these really thin bodies, and like the engines were really cool. I remember just watching it and like being very visually enamored with it. and then not having seen it for a long time and watching it as a full grown adult and realizing how ungood it really was, but enjoying it for its ungoodness.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a product of its time. It was a huge, huge movie in the 80s. It's enjoyable, but you know what you're getting. It is, it's slick. Tony Scott's cinematography and everything is prime, but it's a flashy 80s movie.
Yeah. And there's so many, and then so many of the movies visually have so many things in common with it. And they're all just movies that I enjoyed as a kid. Because I just kept thinking about Beverly Hills Cop, how awesome I thought that movie was, and just all of the repetition of the way they do visuals just over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Days of Thunder, classic.
I've only ever seen Days of Thunder once.
I've never seen it. I refused to go see that movie.
It's
could not deal with it. I remember going by it in the theater, and all I could hear was the cars, just the and the walls are shaking. And we were in the theater next door watching I don't know what, and all you could hear were the fucking cars from that movie.
Yeah. Anyway, everybody, thanks for listening. That is Top Gun. Check it out. Next week, we're doing Manhunter from the same year of 1986. Michael Mann's take on The Red Dragon by Thomas Harris.
Okay, who do you think is the better Hannibal Lecter?
I think that Anthony Hopkins made the role, and it's hard to see anybody but him, but Brian Cox's version of it is fucking awesome.
I think if more people would have realized that Brian Cox had did that, because that movie kind of flew under the radar, I think.
Yeah, it did. It was underseen.
That people would have walked out of it and went like, why couldn't they fucking hire Brian Cox? Where was he? Who was this Anthony Hopkins character?
Yeah. Very different take, less ostentatious, but scary.
Oh,
Hannibal Lecter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good movie. Check it out next week. We're going to do Manhunter. If you want to hit us up, rvspodcast222@gmail.com. Go to buymeacoffee.com and look up the Retro Video Store. We're also on Instagram, and we are on Facebook, and haven't been on Blue Sky in a long, long time because it seemed to die out. So that's where you get us. If you want to send us an email, or you can send us a message through our Buzzsprout page for the Retro Video Store as well. And we appreciate everybody listening. And yeah. Dave, any words?
Go watch Top Gun.
Neil?
Everybody check us out on Blue Sky, because Eric updates that thing like crazy. Oh, wait. So disappointed in our social media manager. Eric, you need to fire that man.
I know. I'm a terrible social media manager. I've been freaking busy lately. It's tough to do all this shit.
Super busy. How many movies did you watch, Eric, by the way? How busy were you?
Like 5, but yeah.
Okay, just check it. Anyway, watch Top Gun for all of its awfulness and its amazing soundtrack for Dave. And if you have not seen that scene, if you've not seen the scene with Quentin Tarantino, you owe it to yourself to look that up.
Have a good week, everybody.
Take care of yourselves.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Retro Video Store Podcast.